Greetings, brothers and sisters. So I got a whole theme thing to do. I haven't done really much of a theme video in a while because every day there's like big news, right? And so I don't get around to doing like theme videos. I got a whole idea I want to develop. But there's a few things people have sent me in one comment I want to talk about first. So someone sent me this, I'm not sure where or when, yesterday or the day before. And it's this song, So this is the presidential song. It's Gerald Ford. And he gets asked a question about the first woman president. And listen what his response is, because, you know, here it is right now.
To become president of the United States.
Well, I hope we do have a young lady at some point become president of the United States. I can tell you how I think it will happen, because it won't happen in the normal course of events.
So I think you know what he's going to say here, right? The reason I'm covering this, he's going to say something that's relevant to what's going on today in today's world. And he is. But I'm going to let him say it. But Gerald Ford, if you don't know who he was really stupid, like a dope. And Nixon had to, I'm not sure how Gerald Ford became vice president, but Nixon has somebody, I think his vice president was Spiro Agnew. And again, please don't correct me on this because you can look it up, it doesn't really matter. But somehow Gerald Ford, who was really slow, like wasn't a bright person, became Nixon's vice president, and then Nixon resigned and Ford became president, but nobody really wanted him. And so he's going to say this.
Either the Republican or Democrat political party will nominate a man for president and a woman for vice president. And the woman and man will win. So you'll end up with a president, a male, and a vice president, a female.
Kind of like what we have now, sort of.
And in that term of office of the president will die.
What? Maybe he'll be really old and senile or something.
And the woman will become president under the law or constitution.
Whoa. I don't see that happen anytime soon.
And once that barrier is broken, from then on, men
almost like a ceiling of some sort.
Men better be careful. Because
men better be careful. That's great.
They'll have a hard time ever even getting a nomination in the future. But that's the way.
So we're just going to have one woman after another. That's what Gerald Ford foresaw. And one of my viewers sent me this for some reason. I just can't watch it, but I just wanted to just show you the introduction here.
President Biden announced late today that the U.S. is on pace to finish the removal of U.S. citizens and military troops from Afghanistan by the August 31st deadline. The president, however, leaving the door open to stay longer, acknowledging contingency planning is underway. The U.S. tonight caught between the proverbial rock and a hard place. On one side, the enormous challenge of getting the last of Americans
a rock and a hard place
safely out, while at the same time demobilizing the last of our troops there. On the other side, the risk of renewed conflict with the Taliban and potential terror attacks. Tonight, the pace of evacuation flight.
Okay, so what I want to say here, and I want to move on, I'm going to get into CNN in just a bit. A whole nother thing about the news and annoying people who have somehow won some battle that we weren't aware of. What I want to say here is that every one of these wars has ended in disaster for the country that we went to war for and for America. Okay, so there were these multiple wars that happened since Vietnam. There was a Vietnam War, which ended in a complete disaster, right? With Vietnam, the North Vietnamese taking over the country and America spending lots of money and lots of lives were lost in that war. And so the next big war was the one in Afghanistan, and then the one in Iraq, and then a military action in Libya and Egypt, and then they tried to get into Syria. And all those places are much worse off after America has wrecked those countries, and America has spent 3 to 5, at least 4, maybe $5 to $6 trillion on these wars. And there's been all these lies, right? We know that the reason we went into Iraq turned out to be completely false. There was no weapons of mass destruction. That was a lie that Dick Cheney scammed Colin Powell, who was embarrassed at the UN when he was given faulty intelligence about these tubes that weren't anything to do with weapons of mass destruction. Remember that? And so the whole war in Iraq turned out to be a lie and a disaster. This Afghanistan war turned out to be a disaster. And then all these other countries. And so many lies were told. And if they lied about one thing, maybe they lied about everything. And when somebody's a proven liar, like the Pentagon and politicians, the media should say, well, you've lied before. This is what they're saying, but we don't believe you. But he's just, echoing what JoJo said here and taking it at face value like it's the truth. And JoJo's a proven liar. Like he's been caught lying over and over again, and he's a politician. And so at this point, we shouldn't believe anything they say. They might be telling the truth, but they simply can't be trusted. And think about how bad the news is that this guy just comes out and echoes what JoJo has said in his speech like it's factual. Like these are talking points the media is just going to accept without doing any journalistic investigation. We know this, but we forget about it. Like this is not this guy's job. This guy's job is to call BS on this guy, right? He's supposed to look at everything this guy says as being potentially a lie, and he's supposed to investigate it and fact check it to see if it's true. But that doesn't happen like in any way, shape, or form anymore. So somebody left a comment yesterday. I talked about Alyssa Milano. She was in an accident. Her uncle had a heart attack. And so that was like a week ago. It says Alyssa Milano says her uncle is on life support following his last week's car accident. Your future, your vote. And it's Uncle Mitch. He's still out and unconscious, and he's on life support. She said in a TikTok video.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to give you all an update on Uncle Mitch. For those of you who do not know, I was in the car with Uncle Mitch last week. We were driving to a doctor's appointment for me.
For who?
For me. For my ears, because I still have ringing in my ears from COVID. And on the way there, Uncle Mitch suffered a major heart attack.
So has he been engaged or had something recently that might contribute to a heart attack?
And he lost consciousness with his foot on the gas. And it was some of the most horrifying moments of my life.
What the? It's finally happening!
I got the car to stop, and there were some incredibly kind people who stopped to help me through, the next 40 minutes. So I feel like I need to say a special thank you to these incredible Good Samaritans who stopped.
And are now watching me on their granddaughter's TikTok account.
To help. Please be one of those Good Samaritans. If you see people who are in pain or struggling, please stop to help them.
So you've done this how many times? Like how many times have you stopped to help people on the side of the road?
Anyway, and thank you to all of you who have sent such an outpouring of love and support, and your prayers are so appreciated. Thank you. And Uncle Mitch is still in and out of consciousness. He's on life support. My brother went there yesterday and played him some oldies, and his whole body started moving, so he really loved that. The nurses at the UCLA Medical Center and the doctors are taking such incredible...
Okay, enough of that. And so, what one viewer pointed out that there has been a spike in car crashes, right, of this nature. The number of deaths for the first 5 months of 2021 are estimated at 17,360. This preliminary estimate is up 20% compared to 2020. So think about that. That there is 20% higher car accidents. And I guess that there's been a number of car accidents where people have been having heart attacks behind the wheel. And, I don't know what might be going on with Mitch that might be some sort of catalyst for a heart attack, given Alyssa Milano's stance on such things. I don't know. And then it says 2020 and up 16% compared to 2019. And so there are a lot more deaths in car accidents, even though people aren't going out as much, right? They're not driving as much. You see that it was a 4% decrease in 2020, but something's happened in 2021 where there's a lot more car accidents, and there's been lots of reports of people dying behind the wheel after having a heart attack. So this is the main point of this video. This is the theme portion of this video. And I want to get to this marriage trailer with Jessica Chastain because I had these two events of real, epiphanies yesterday, if you want to call them that, or if I want to call them that. And one of them had to do with this movie Marriage, and another one had to do with a CNN clip. And first I want to do the trailer. To preface this, there is, in the truth community and pretty much across the board, but, specifically about the truth community, but everything on the internet nowadays, is that we're so belief-centered, right? People are so belief-centered, they judge other people by their beliefs. More than anything else, right? People are, wanting to know what demographic you're in. When you're talking to somebody, you want to see where they stand on the major things going on in the world. And so the kind of opinions or which side they stand on to these sort of divisive issues defines how you feel about them, right? Are they liberal? Are they conservative? Are they truther? Are they sheeple? What are they, right? And so what we have lost is what kind of person is the person, regardless of their beliefs. Because, there's a-holes in every category. There's people like you who have the opposite beliefs of you, but have similar personality configuration, a similar IQ, a similar way of being in the world. Almost can be identical to you, but they have different beliefs. And those are the people you're going to fight with the most, right? Another version of you that's on the other side of these issues. So I don't want to talk about beliefs here. Like I might just go through some backstory so people understand, but not what CNN believes, not what the CNN reporters believe, not what Hollywood celebrities believe, but what kind of people they are. Because there's lots of annoying, life-sucking, unlikable people in prominent positions right now, and that gets passed over. And so let's get into it. I want to show you my evidence here, but that gets overlooked because of the beliefs. People are more concerned about the beliefs than the actual, not just the character of the people, but what kind of essence, what kind of energy they have, what kind of, what does it feel to be around them? So let's go to the trailer of this movie. So this is a trailer to a movie called Marriage from HBO. And I saw about 3 or 4 of these types of trailers in the past couple of days. They're making a lot more movies that are just called dramas, right? They're not, they're not comedies, they're not action. I mean, they're not even like science fiction or something. They're just straight up dramas, and they're soul sucking. Even the trailers are hard to get through. And so they play this, this song, melancholy music, and just this, just a dingy house. I mean, all of this stuff, right?
Research says that when the woman is the provider and the man is a caregiver, the marriage has a greater chance of success.
And so that's how you should base your relationships, on statistics. And, and so this is Jessica Chastain. We're going to move forward with this trailer in a minute. But she is a very unlikable person. Like, I have noticed this for some years, that there were these women who became big-time Hollywood celebrities, like A-list actresses, that weren't very likable. And they were, basically forced on the American movie viewing public because of their relationship with Harvey Weinstein and other powerful agencies. So there was Michelle Williams, who was seen with Harvey Weinstein, touching Harvey Weinstein, went to the Oscars with him. They're constantly together. And then she was, I didn't understand years ago why they were pushing Michelle Williams for these juicy Hollywood movie parts, right? Where they were making her some kind of a gigantic starlet when she seemed to have this she has this depressing, soul-sucking energy. Like, she isn't, to me, somebody who is, people would look at and say, oh, she should be a movie star. But Harvey Weinstein did, and she became a movie star. Also, Jennifer Lawrence, who used to be always draped over Harvey Weinstein's arm. She was very affectionate with him, very touchy-feely with him. Remember, she became this big star, again, getting these juicy roles. I covered this exchange, which was weird, very flirtatious exchange. And Harvey Weinstein told women that he was sexually involved with her. And then also Jessica Chastain, who is, to me, maybe the most unlikable of these starlets. Right here she is with Harvey, and they forced her on everybody. Here she is laughing up a storm with Harvey because Harvey's just so frickin' funny. But she's somebody who has this life-sucking energy. And she gets these really good parts, right? She was in this movie, Zero Dark 30, there's this director, this movie maker named Catherine Bigelow, who works with the CIA. She made The Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30. Tequila, Painted Pearls, and Prada, how the CIA helped produce Zero Dark 30. The director of the CIA secretly helped produce Hollywood's biggest movie about Osama bin Laden, Raid. New records show CIA's involvement in Zero Dark 30. And so you can say the same thing about Hurt Locker. There are these movies that are government propaganda, intelligence propaganda, CIA propaganda. And Catherine Bigelow made these movies. She's like some kind of CIA operative or something. Jessica Chastain stars in these movies. And if you watch her in these movies like The Martian, or I can't think of some of the movies offhand, but I don't remember any time I saw Jessica Chastain in a movie and I went, she made that movie better. The only good movie she's in is that one about the poker dealer. There's a good movie that she plays somebody who put together these celebrity poker parties. And it's just a well-made movie. But her energy, like the kind of person she is, if you've heard her talk, like I saw one interview with her some time ago, and she was talking about how she always liked to play strong women, and there was this agenda there, a feminist agenda, but it was more her attitude and her persona and just the energy that she sucked from you. Like, she is just one of those people that seems to just suck energy from people. And this movie they're making, this pretentious movie about marriage, is about a very unlikable couple and their melancholy, drama-filled.
And then you gradually start to realize that actually anything can hurt you.
Anything can hurt you. First, nothing can hurt you, then anything can hurt you. It's a revelatory movie.
We're going to sit here and we're going to talk as long as it takes, okay?
But there's
Exactly. Add 4 hours to the running time of this movie. You know, as long as it takes, just talk it out. Let's have a conversation about your problems. You know, most people are in miserable, life-sucking marriages, or they're alone, divorced, or, you know, just broken up with somebody, right? And, you know, why would they find this entertaining to sit through some, I mean, this, you know, just the trailer itself sucks the life out of you.
there's nothing left to say.
What is this? What is this thing where we can't talk?
Exactly. Why can't you talk?
Do you know how long I've wanted to leave?
Do you know how long she wanted to leave? She wanted to leave a long time ago, but she never did.
I don't leave right now. I know I'm never going to.
That looks like fun. A story about love that's over time. Like, just that is soul-sucking, right? Not likable, and this is supposed to be entertainment.
I remember how we were, and we're just throwing it all away.
Don't throw it all away. This relationship's too good to be thrown in the trash. It's got to fast forward this here.
Somebody else would love me for exactly the same thing.
Okay, so there's their favorite things.
It's never going to be like the first time.
So I saw this trailer, you know, up to about right here or something. I couldn't take it anymore, right? And then later on, I'm going to see something, you know, 5 hours later, I'm going to see something on CNN. And the two of them together just click this idea in my mind about how there's been this bait and switch in the last so many years where they've taken the fun out of frickin' everything. And they've replaced it with, you know, the most soul-sucking people and the worst possible soul-sucking content. And again, not talking about beliefs or, you know, whether the person's a liberal or feminist or wherever they stand on the issues, just the people themselves are unlikable. Like this couple, they're unlikable. And you're supposed to sit there for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and watch this unlikable couple work out their drama, right? You know, and you're going to be left feeling really bad. Like, you know, there's not too many movies out there that are going to put energy in you. Most of them suck energy from you, even though you're doing it to relax, right? And so, you know, your heart rate goes down and your brain goes into the passive alpha mode. And so you get some relaxation out of it. But the act of watching a movie is something that takes energy from you, for the most part. Once in a while you see a great movie that inspires you and, you know, triggers, you know, some sort of reaction. But the, you know, movies themselves are soul-sucking. And the news has gotten to be the same thing. So my wife and I were watching TV last night. We were watching something on Amazon, and then I clicked back to DirecTV. And right before that, I must have had CNN on. And so, you know, it was whatever, 10 o'clock or whatever. And Don Lemon's came out with Caitlin Collins. And I just watched for a second. I'm not sure which part it was, somewhere in here.
Briefing with his top national security aides. Then he had that call with world leaders where he did tell them what he repeated this afternoon. He is, for now, sticking by this August 31st deadline, a week from today, to have all U.S.
And I realized how unlikable Caitlin Collins was. It was this contrast. My wife and I were watching something funny, and we were both laughing, and we were in a kind of a good mood. And there was just this moment of CNN coming on, and I realized how unlikable Caitlin Collins is, just as a person. Now, we already know about Don Lemons. I used to do a douche-off. Who was the biggest douche between Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo's? And they, you know, and they both were very strong players. And they're anchors and they're on a lot. But Caitlin Collins has been someone covering Trump, and she was annoying covering Trump. But I realized that these people on CNN, like who amongst them is likable? They're not likable at all, right? Like it was this epiphany that they get the most annoying people that you would never spend time with. Like this couple in this movie, this marriage movie, right? And then these CNN anchors, and then all these people on TV. If you met these people in a social situation, you would be like, oh, I don't like this person at all. I can't wait to get away from them. But yet people are, watching these annoying characters and annoying people and soul-sucking people. I'm not even, again, not talking about their beliefs, but who they are as a human being. It's just this huge bait and switch where they've taken anybody who's interesting or, has a good personality and people who are, fun to be around. You find these people interesting and you want to watch them on TV and, they have interesting thoughts and, they do interesting things, and they've replaced them by like these zombies, these depressed zombies.
And the West Wing advocated for it. They did not want to see him extend that deadline, despite the pressure that you're seeing from other world leaders.
The ghoulish nature. Look at this guy, right? And it's just like, just this slow march to a melancholy death, right? So this is Jake Tapper's. He's going after this guy, Blinken, winking, blinking, and nod. This guy's something to do with Afghanistan.
Enables them to do what they do, and that's part of the larger issue about whether or not the U.S. should have left behind any sort of residual force. But beyond that is, again, the question of how poorly this was done.
Just this droopy dog MNFer. I've talked about this before. This somber dude, unlikable. Like, why would you want to be around this guy? Why do you want to bring this guy into your living room? This is all of CNN. I mean, we know about Anderson Cooper. I'm not going to show you some of the people we already know about, right? Don Lemons, Anderson Cooper, Chris Cuomo, some of the so-called bigger stars on CNN. You can say the same thing about MSNBC in a different way. But people, again, not because of what they believe, not because they're liberal, not because of any of these things. I mean, that's a part of who they are. But it's who they are, right? It's this essence of that person. Like you feel a person's essence when you meet them, right? That's one of the things about the heartfulness meditation, that the master of the system and people who have been doing the system for a while, get cleaned out of their lower tendencies, this doing the practice and, embracing your spiritual essence and changing, becoming a better person. And then the transmission that you receive for a number of years, it starts to radiate out of your system. And it's, feels good to be around people like that, like a loving grandfather or grandmother or somebody who's lived a good life and they have lots to offer. And when you're around the person, somebody that you work with, some, older person that you work with, or, just one of these people that just has a great essence. They don't have to be an older person. And that's why people like to be around young children, babies and things, because they're still innocent. They still have, love to give. They still have their whole life's energy inside of them before it's been sucked out of them and they turn into an asshole, right? And there's just so many of these annoying assholes out there that are soul-sucking and just, morbid and ghoulish. And, they're just out there, right? Like CNN has contaminated the world of news by filling it with people like this, that as soon as you see them, gloom sets in, right? It's the network of gloom. Jim Acosta, I've talked about him being sort of, very similar to Jake Tapper, but he's got his own brand of life-sucking, ghoulish annoyance.
All week long, former President Donald Trump and his team have been spiking the football on President Biden's chaotic exit from Afghanistan. It's
okay, somebody takes this dude's pulse, right?
It's worth reminding everybody
he's got a negative pulse.
Just who moved the ball to the goal line. Some key Trump officials have conveniently forgotten that.
Again, like, why would you watch this guy? Why would you want to talk to somebody like this? Like, he's, he'd be in a sitcom. He'd be some, annoying guy that the other characters in the show give looks about how they can't get away from the guy soon enough, right? Allison Camerado.
Moment now to address the notion that we need to listen to Trump supporters who are somehow being silenced or censored. In the hour before the deadly riot at the U.S. Capitol, President Trump told his supporters, quote, "Make your voices heard." Let me show you.
Again, a life-sucking presence, right?
Portland and other cities this summer should be listened to either. but I don't hear any political leaders saying they should be. The violent mob that descends.
Just soul sucking, right? Just soul sucking, you know? Everything she represents as a human being, just like an energy drain. Breonna Keeler, very similar.
On the border. The last time the Border Patrol saw this number of migrants trying to cross in a month was 2 decades ago. This morning,
just your energy, just like this is what CNN is doing. These are people that they're putting out there and saying, you want to see this person, you want to hear this person talk, you want to feel the person's energy, you want to be around the person, right?
As mass violence committed by undocumented immigrants in the United States to Hungary's strategy.
Now, again, there's her beliefs and there's CNN's beliefs, and then there's the product of the energy and the consciousness that they're putting out.
I'm Christiana Amanpour, back in the seat from London. I want to first thank Biana Golderiga and the whole...
Christiane Amanpour. Another one, right? Like somebody, every time you see her, like, why is she on TV? They also used to have Piers Morgan, which is maybe one of the most, if not the most annoying news person, obnoxious news person that's ever been on television in England or America. And CNN just gets them, right? Wolf Blitzer, right? He's in Buffalo, New York.
Embarrassing. The situation. CNN has asked me to come here to trace my roots.
Why? Why is anybody interested in finding out the roots of Wolf Blitzer? We all know his roots, right? We know all about Wolf Blitzer's roots.
This is downtown Buffalo. A task I find daunting.
It's a daunting task.
I grew up here in the 1950s and 60s with my sister and parents.
Couple of happy kids. What kind of ghouls were raising these kids?
A lot has changed since then. My dad passed away in 2002. And my mom, she's 92 years old, and she now lives in Florida.
Look at the Wolf Blitzer smile.
But some things here never change. Like the Arthur Schindler, a local historian, agreed to help me find my dad's childhood home.
We have some school records.
Yep. Pretty amazing story.
Pretty amazing. Amazing woman.
All right. So Wolf Blitzer is one of the worst, right? I mean, he's one of the most ghoulish people in the news. And he's one of CNN's, like one of the faces of CNN. Aaron Burnett, right? If you find any of these people likable, like what qualities do you like about any of these people? And again, not about their beliefs, not about their, they're not truthers, but just who they are as a person.
Just a cave. The breaking news, President Trump getting ready to sign a bill reopening the government. And the House has just passed the bill, so now it can go to the president. A very tough threat to take seriously when the president just gave...
just all of them. Just a very tough person, like hardness, a hard heart. Just somebody that you wouldn't want to get help from, you wouldn't want to rely on, right? These are the people that are delivering America the news, right? People that are highly unlikable and, annoying. At some point they just said, we can feed them anything. We can feed America anything in terms of crappy movies like this movie Marriage, dramas, nothing that appeals to you. Not finding out what you want to watch or what you believe, but just force feeding what they want to give you, which is depression and gloom, melancholy, all these things. See, at some point there was a war that was waged, and I was talking to my brother about this. We had a conversation today, and I said back in 2015 and 16, it was 2016 and 17, I guess it was, when they had that ad Apocalypse with PewDiePie and all these big corporations, Walmart and McDonald's and AT&T, they all said they weren't going to run ads on YouTube unless there was censorship. And, there was a few other things that corporations backed that were really unpopular, things you can't even talk about now, right? Like things that we used to be able to talk about and can't talk about now. But these corporations were backing this socialist, this very liberal Hollywood morality agenda. And the majority of people were against it. In my whole life, when the majority of people were against issues the way they were against these things, corporations would completely cave and back down to them. The pressure from the people, the pressure from the religious right, whatever it might be, they would back down. But the corporations were like, no, we're all on board with this liberal agenda and this censorship and all the things that they were pushing, and they just steamrolled over it, and they didn't care about the customers anymore. They didn't care about whether you were happy about it or not. And then they just started shoving all this crap in movies and TV shows and sports. And Michael Jordan had once said that he didn't take stands on political issues because Republicans buy sneakers too, right? He wanted the biggest customer base. And now that idea is gone. Nike is one of the worst, and they're all bad. And they're just shoving this agenda down everyone's throats, whether they like it or not. We've seen it. And so it's been a complete change. And instead of having likable people, people you identify with, people that are real and authentic, even on social media, they're promoting all these really weird people and weird content and content that's, like young people are just watching it because everyone else is, this stuff on TikTok and all this other stuff. And you have all these life-sucking, annoying ghouls that are unlikable and just, on every level that are in front of you as the examples of humanity, and people have just caved to it and haven't even thought about it, right? The people are so wrapped up in their issues, they forget they're looking at human beings who are in every possible way, heartless, loveless, soulless people that are completely disconnected from anything that you would consider a human being, right? And, like they're the annoying people have won, and they're like, hey, you guys all have to just tolerate us now. And for the most part, people have. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely reporting from the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.